Hi there and welcome to Low C. What if improving your health didn't require an hour at the gym? Only a few minutes spread across the day? It may sound surprisingly simple, but a growing body of research suggests that even very short periods of activity can make a meaningful difference for our health, especially if we lead a mostly sedentary life. Today, I'd like to talk about some of the health benefits of short bursts of exercise, specifically exercise snacks and short bouts of accumulated exercise. This brief review is for you if you neither have the time nor the motivation for long workouts or a structured gym routine, but would still like to improve your health. It's also for anyone who simply enjoys learning about the body and health in a calm and relaxed way. Before we begin, please keep in mind that the following suggestions are intended for healthy adults who lead a mostly sedentary lifestyle and are currently free of pain. Please do not implement these recommendations if you experience discomfort, joint pain, or if you have previously had a cardiovascular event such as a stroke or heart attack without consulting your doctor first. This video is not meant to replace medical advice or therapy, and it would be unethical to present it as such. If you'd like to fast forward to the practical part, please skip ahead to Chapter 4, Practical Approach. If you'd like to start your health journey right now, you could walk or jog in place while listening to the rest of this video. But you certainly don't have to. Listening with an open mind is already a good first step towards building healthier routines. You may also simply lean back, relax, and let the information settle. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Introduction. When we talk about physical activity and health, there are official guidelines that give us a useful orientation. For example, to maintain health and reduce the risk of cardiovascular and other non-communicable diseases, the WHO recommends 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity per week, 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity, or a combination of both, as well as muscle strengthening exercises twice per week. Additionally, reducing sedentary time is recommended. These evidence-based guidelines aim to counteract the health risks associated with a predominantly sedentary lifestyle. If you already meet or even exceed these recommendations, congratulations! But knowing what we should do and actually integrating it into daily life are often two very different things. Everyday life, socioeconomic circumstances, politics, motivation, and psychological factors can make it difficult to maintain even the best well-thought-out routines. Chapter 2. Why small habits form more easily. Please don't punish yourself if you haven't yet reached your health goals. In my experience, many new resolutions fail for a variety of reasons. One of them is that new habits are often too large and overwhelming for our brain to integrate. Habit formation is not only a matter of motivation, it is also a physiological process. When a new habit begins, new brain circuits need to be activated. At the beginning, this requires a considerable amount of energy. The more often we repeat a behavior, the easier it becomes, because smaller triggers are sufficient to activate the circuit. However, if the new habit is too demanding, our brain tends to protect itself by falling back into established patterns. In a way, forming a new habit is like walking through very deep snow. At first, it requires a lot of effort. Over time, the path becomes easier to walk until eventually it turns into a well-trodden road. That's the point where a resolution becomes a routine, and that's what we want to reach. To reach that point, we often need to make things easier for our brain. That might mean starting with 10 minutes of activity per day rather than committing to an hour-long workout every day. Small, consistent actions are often easier to implement and more sustainable than intense bursts of effort. When it comes to physical activity and health, this is where exercise snacks and short bouts of accumulated exercise become useful, because they can have a meaningful impact on health while remaining small enough to gradually turn into a stable routine. Chapter 3: Exercise snacks and short bouts of accumulated exercise. Exercise snacks are very short bouts of activity at vigorous intensity, usually lasting less than 1 minute and performed several times throughout the day. Examples include quickly climbing a flight of stairs or cycling at a very high intensity for a brief moment. Because of their vigorous nature, exercise snacks primarily target cardiovascular health, which means the health for our heart and our vessels. Short bouts of accumulated exercise, on the other hand, I will abbreviate them to SBAE, typically last between 1 and 10 minutes. They can be performed at any intensity and in various forms of movement, as long as they are repeated several times per day, with breaks of at least 30 minutes in between. Depending on how they are designed, SBAE can target cardiovascular fitness, muscle strength, balance, coordination, or a combination of these. In short terms, exercise snacks are very short, high-intensity efforts, while SBAE consists of slightly longer activity periods of up to 10 minutes that may include a variety of movements depending on your goal. In practice, however, you do not need to strictly separate these categories. What matters most is that even a few minutes of movement performed regularly can positively affect your health. Another advantage is that exercise snacks and SBAE usually don't require special equipment or facilities, which makes them practical and accessible. I will give you a few evidence-based examples, but please feel free to get creative when designing your own exercise snacks or SBAE. If you'd like to share your ideas so others can get inspired, please feel free to leave a comment. Chapter 4: Practical Approach. We start with exercise snacks. Climbing stairs as fast as possible 3 times a day for 3 days per week may improve cardiorespiratory fitness, which is strongly associated with cardiovascular health and mortality risk. A study from 2019 found that climbing a stairwell of about 60 steps 3 times per day, 3 days per week, improved peak oxygen uptake after 6 weeks in healthy sedentary adults, which is also associated with cardiovascular health and mortality risk. Other research suggests that even 20 to 30 seconds of maximum effort exercise performed 3 times per day can improve VO2 max, which also reflects cardiorespiratory fitness. However, it is advisable to warm up briefly before performing high-intensity movements, since both our cardiovascular system and our joints benefit from a few minutes of gradual activation. Regardless of whether you choose cycling, running, jumping, or climbing stairs, engaging large muscle groups at high intensity appears to be crucial for the cardiovascular adaptations associated with exercise snacks. Interestingly, a daily total of approximately 4.1 minutes of vigorous exercise snacks may offset the increased risk of major adverse cardiovascular events associated with sitting for more than 11 hours per day. So if you lead a mostly sedentary life, even 4 minutes a day of vigorous intensity exercise can make a meaningful difference for your health. Finally, Data obtained from wearable devices suggested 4 short bouts of vigorous physical activity, totaling about 2 to 3 minutes per day, are associated with a substantially lower risk of cardiovascular disease and all-cause mortality. SBAE. If high-intensity exercise snacks do not feel comfortable for you, SBAE may offer a more flexible alternative. Research shows that bouts of 2 to 5 minutes of moderate intensity activity improved cardiovascular fitness after 8 weeks in sedentary young adults. These activity periods can be extended up to 10 minutes to increase potential benefits. Walking for 10 minutes 3 times per day has also been shown to support brain health and mental recovery. So, are you still walking in place? If so, congratulations! You've done your first SBAE. Even more striking, interrupting prolonged sitting with short periods of low to moderate intensity walking significantly reduced post-meal blood glucose, insulin, and C-peptide levels in both healthy adults and individuals with type 2 diabetes compared to uninterrupted sitting. Which means if you lead a mostly sedentary life, interrupting long periods of sitting can benefit your health as well. Additionally, low to moderate intensity walking can support cardiovascular fitness and has been shown to reduce resting heart rate and blood pressure in middle-aged and older sedentary adults. SBAE for strength, flexibility, and bone health. SBAE can also be adapted to target flexibility, muscle strength, and bone health. Even simple body weight exercises can make a difference. For example, movements such as sit-to-stand repetitions, squats, wall or floor push-ups, and planks, performed for about 20 repetitions per set, 3 sets, 3 times per week, may already provide meaningful benefits. Weight-bearing and bodyweight exercises have also been shown to support bone health and help to keep osteoporosis at bay. If you experience tension in your neck or other areas, stretching those areas for about 60 seconds 2 to 3 times per day may help relieve some discomfort and even reduce non-specific pain. When performed slowly and mindfully, stretching has also been shown to reduce psychological stress. Chapter 5. Conclusion. So, we've learned about exercise snacks and SBAE. Next time you feel overwhelmed by health guidelines, fitness myths, or your own ambitious goals, please remember that even short bouts of movement can make a meaningful difference for your health. In my experience, it is often better to take small steps consistently than large steps for a short period of time, or no steps at all. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you take something positive with you. And please remember, you are enough just the way you are.